And
Hey, Daddy, this is the man of the champions, Bill Fonzie Alfonso, giving a shout out to
something else.
something else, Daddy.
This is Nickel Matara, Great Warrior Wolf, and you are listening to Something Else.
I'm Tony Cini, and you're listening to something else.
Hey everybody, it's Rich Palladino, the voice of New England, and you are listening to Something Else with Arya.
Degenerates and reprobates, welcome to episode number 187 of Something Else. Feast your ear holes on this week's episode as we take a look at Mid-South Wrestling and World Class Championship Wrestling from April 21st, 1984. My name is Arya, and joining me, as always, is the Hernandez to my Homicide. It's Trae. Trae, how the hell are you doing today?
Isn't it fortuitous that we get to do episode 187 right as Homicide? Did he just have his retirement match, or is he just about to have his retirement match?
I'll be honest, I thought you would be the one to keep track of that.
No,
Let
Sabu,
me see.
you were at Sabu's retirement match, weren't you?
Yes, I was. Um, so I'm not sure because I Googled Homicide wrestler and I think he's had his last
Oh,
match
probably. It
yeah.
was probably over
I,
Mania weekend. Yeah, Homicide, fucking awesome. One of the
no. It was not over Mania weekend. It was at an outlaw
oh,
wrestling show in Brooklyn.
okay, fair play, fair play. Yeah, Homicide was pretty damn great back in the day, right? The
Yeah, oh, definitely. He's
him.
one of those guys that if he came along 10 years later, like right now, he'd be fucking killing it on Monday or Wednesday nights. But unfortunately,
Yeah.
like he's a little too short, to be even in that era of the mid 2000s where they had Jericho and Benoit and Mysterio and, all these guys that are not, they're all 5'9" and below, but, you know, that was not Vince's credo at the time. He wanted guys who were 6'2" and 250 pounds. And if you weren't that, good luck getting signed, which is like
Yeah.
part, especially when you look at it, like how, great of it was like when they hired like people like Punk, who's not 6'2", who's not 250 pounds, and he got signed around that time. And mind you, we know the story. He was sent to OVW, and Paul Heyman was basically told, "We're going to fire this guy, but just let him play itself out here for a little bit." But you know,
So,
I
speaking
think
of Punk,
Homicide. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
speaking of Punk and speaking of Homicide, have you ever seen the
No.
ROH straight shooting
Oh
with Samoa
no.
Joe and CM Punk?
Oh, Gabe, I'm sorry. All
All
Japan,
Japan,
Kojima,
Kojima.
Lariat, Lariat,
Uh,
Lariat.
that's not even the best
Oh,
part. The best part is the story about Homicide being drunk and trying to pee on Punk.
yes. D,
And
what are you doing? Yo, yo, I'm taking a piss, yo. Yo, I'm
And
taking
then,
a
and then
piss.
the next morning they call low key to tell her what happened, and then
Hey, it's
Joe doing
happened
his low key
before.
impersonation. Hey, oh, Homicide! You gave us many wonderful memories in your wrestling
Yes,
career, and we salute you.
yes. Honestly, I think Homicide, and I mean, this is faint praise, but Homicide would have worked out better than Loki did because unless, Homicide just, you know, it never came out, but Homicide was never the dick that Loki was, even
Yeah,
though you could argue that Loki was the more talented of the two.
yeah. You could you never hear about Homicide being difficult to deal with.
No, no. And, you know, and like he's one of those people like if someone was to have a gripe, he might be one of them because he got stepped over in TNA more often than not. Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, who didn't get stepped over in TNA? You know,
If that guy was 10 years younger, he'd be fucking tearing it up on Dynamite right now.
oh, definitely. Or like I said on Raw or SmackDown.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
I I know we talked about this a few days ago, but did you go and watch the TLC match from SmackDown?
I have watched so little wrestling over the last week or so. I watched Dynamite and Collision, and I watched the New Japan show the Wrestling Red Zone in Hiroshima. And then I watched our shows today. I just today, because you've been following this journey with me, I finally got my fucking ass put together today.
You broke up just when he said what you put fucking together.
Oh, my desk.
Yes. I knew what it was, but the people wouldn't have heard you.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so before we talk about your desk, I just want to say that TLC match, it was great. It was insane. And if it was in front of any other crowd, it would be like legendary match status. But that crowd, I don't know if it just wasn't mic'd well. I don't know if like I think they just didn't give a fuck, to be honest. Like that crowd sat on their hands for six guys killing themselves. And like if Edge and Christian, the Hardys and the Dudleys had their TLC matches in front of that crowd in El Paso, Texas, Edge might not be a 47-time WWE champion. You know, the Hardys may not have gotten further than they were. Christian wouldn't be a world champion. Your friend Bully Ray wouldn't have gotten the world title probably. It's like that crowd did not give a fuck.
That really tells you something about the people who go to WWE versus the people who go to AEW. And this isn't even really a criticism, it's just the way it's always been. It was the same way in WCW, that you could go to WCW as an unknown, and if you had a good match, you would get over. And if you, the WWE, they don't care if you're not famous.
And
This was in El Paso. This match was in El
yeah,
Paso. You know
yeah.
how fucking hot El Paso was for AEW.
I mean, I guess this is a bad example, but I mean, I went to two nights of WrestleMania and even the shit we shit on, we were still, you know, pretty fucking loud for it. I don't know
Yeah,
how it came across on TV,
the
but
crowd was
like,
not the problem with those shows.
yeah. So it's like I don't like maybe that's it. Maybe just a WWE crowd sucks by and large. Maybe it's just
Yeah.
that like even though it was in the main event spot, even though a TLC match is a main event type of match, and even though they put on a 4+ star match, these guys at the end of the day were six mid-carders, and there probably wasn't a lot that was going to make these people pay attention to.
Yeah,
Um,
that sucks, but you know.
now we're gonna
It
review we're gonna review our WrestleMania predictions on Thursday,
okay.
but Cena versus Cody. Okay, that match sucked, and and yeah, Travis Scott. I can't say Travis Scott ruined it because it wasn't exactly a 5-star match before Travis Scott spent 3 hours walking to the ring. I got to say, between Travis Scott and Steve Austin, we had a lot of tips of the hat to the Sandman from Joey Janela's Spring Break.
Yeah.
Between going to the ring in the wrong direction, taking 7 minutes to get to the ring, and I guess Sandman didn't crash into the front row or anything. But hey, I don't know
Yeah.
if it I don't know if it showed on TV, but when Steve Austin came out on his thingy, he missed
Oh
the
yeah.
ramp going up.
Hmm.
He
Yeah.
missed the fucking ramp. Like that
Uh
that that was tremendous. That should have been our first sign that maybe, just maybe, he shouldn't have been driving that damn thing to the ring and around the ring. And it's funny because
so
like, and
that
it should have been obvious, but like I think they aired a video package before Austin came out, but like I looked down after the video package and like all the stairs were pushed up against the apron. I'm like, that's weird. Why are they doing that? And then the glass broke. I'm
Should have
like,
known.
oh, here we go. Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah. So that
Sandman walked the wrong way to the ring, and Cena and Cody, it was a bad match before that, and then the finish was so flat that I was like, okay, there's got to be something else to this. Like, because I'm like, okay, Cena cheated to win. So here comes another referee. Here comes The Rock doing a babyface turn. Here comes Daddy Triple H. Somebody's going to come down and reverse the decision or restart the match or whatever.
nope.
But nope, that's not what happened. And actually, spoiler alert for tomorrow, that I mean, not quite the same, but that pretty much happened on the TNA pay-per-view with Kid Cash and Amazing Red, where Trinity came down, gave Kid Cash a Scorpion Death Drop. Amazing Red made the cover, and the referee had been bumped. And like a minute later, the referee woke up, crawled over, and counted three. And I mean, it was a title belt shot, not a not a Scorpion Death Drop. But that basically what happened at WrestleMania. Cena hit him with the belt, made the cover, and the referee 30 seconds later made the count.
I appreciate that match for being everything I hate about wrestling. As far as being just the pinnacle of sports entertainment bullshit, it was. Look, the people who were there because they liked that shit got exactly what they wanted. Okay? Now,
Mhm.
what when I watch wrestling, the main event of Wrestle Kingdom, I expect a fucking spectacular. The main event of WrestleMania, especially the last 2 years, at the second Cody Roman match, and then fucking this shit show, both shit shows this year. It what was I saying? I expect it to be sports entertainment bullshit. So I don't know. I guess I've adjusted my expectations accordingly. So I don't care about WWE enough to criticize it anymore. I just don't.
At least with that, you know, the Cody Roman match, it's like it was a tremendous spectacle, at least live. I really don't know how most people felt watching it on TV, but like you knew that all these run-ins were going to get countered, and it was fun to watch. It was fun to watch Jay spear Jimmy off the side of a ramp, you know? Um,
It
but
wasn't
this
fun to
year,
watch. It wasn't fun to watch Travis Scott slow walk to the ring with his fucking bootleg hardcore title.
no, no, it wasn't. And it's funny, like, from my angle, like, I did not, I guess, fully take in the ramp because, like, I didn't know there was a door there that they open and shut until I rewatched the Joe Hendry entrance on YouTube. I'm like, oh, they have a door that they open that they come out of.
I have one regret about the whole thing. If Travis Scott had been smoking a joint while he slow walked to the ring, I would have given that match 7 stars.
He was probably smoking a joint right before he hit the doors.
And look, when he was on Raw in like January, and he's coming through the crowd with Jey Uso just fucking smoking a joint. Like I don't even know who this guy is, but he's my fucking hero.
All right.
Talk about my desk now.
What was that?
Can we talk about my desk now?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. I was about to go to Mid South, but yes, Trey's desk. Let's hear
Okay,
about Trey's desk.
I said I would tell this story this week after everything was over, okay?
Hmm.
And I don't even know if I told you this whole story. Maybe parts of it.
I've heard parts of it.
Okay, the whole thing starts just about a year ago. It was the beginning of February 2024. So we've the house that we were living in that we've been renting since 2021. We're very happy there. We liked it a lot. We didn't want to leave. And then so the beginning of last April, our landlord messages us like, "Hey, I have to sell some of my properties, including that one. Do you want to buy it?" And we said, well, let us see. And the only reason that any of this happened was because my wife's father passed away 2 years ago. and they sold his property in Arkansas last year, so that was going to be our down payment. But anyway, so the funny thing was that when this started in like April, the landlord was very insistent that he wanted to get this done really soon. Like he wanted to have it done by the 1st of June. And we were like, well, we don't know if we can have it done in June. And then but it ended up like our everything ended up moving pretty well. And we were by the end of June, we would have been ready to buy the house. And that is when we started to run into problems with the government. Our landlord was a nice guy and he was a decent enough landlord, but he's a little shady. And
Okay.
what it ended up being the issue was that, do you remember during COVID they had all those small business loans?
I do.
Yeah, and you know how a lot of people like abused those and made fraudulent claims and that kind of stuff?
I do.
Okay, so I have never been explicitly told this, but from what I can infer on the information that I was able to glean from the whole situation, I believe that the landlord took out one of those loans and he put up the house that we lived in and another house that he owned for collateral. And I believe that he misrepresented the value of the properties. And then when he went to sell them, the government put a flag on it. And then, so after that, and he's trying to sell the properties to get the money to pay back the loans, but then the government is like being all whatever about it, and I don't even know. And then that was before the administration change, in January when they started intentionally appointing the most incompetent person that they could find to every government post. So at that point, we're like,
Mm-hmm.
well, we don't know when the fuck this is ever going to happen, and we had just made peace with like, look, we're just going to stay here and rent until something happens. And then we were getting
Something happened.
haircuts at yeah, we were getting haircuts at our next door neighbor's house. Our next door neighbor's a beautician and she has a chair in her house. She's really nice. She cuts her hair for really cheap. So we're over there talking with her one day, and she's like the lady that knows everything in the neighborhood, knows everything that's going on, right?
Okay.
And so
She's a neighborhood
she tells,
busybody.
well, I guess, but she's really nice, and she brings me like Mexican food and stuff. So I'm not gonna say anything bad about her. But she tells us that the house like across the street from her that they were about to sell it. And so we looked into that, and one thing led to another. And anyway, so I spent parts of the last several days assembling a big ass desk that I found that I loved. And now I am so the last podcast that you would have heard us do, we recorded what, like 2 weeks ago? So now we are
Yep.
finally back together, and I am sitting at my new desk, looking out the window at a peach tree that's in my backyard now.
Nice. And more specifically, looking at a peach tree outside of your house.
Yeah, well, my wife's house, but I think she's gonna let me live here.
That's nice of her.
Very nice.
Yeah, I think that's really cool of her to let you live in her house like this.
She's a pretty good wife.
I've heard rumors about that. So, you better hang on to this one like grim death.
Trying.
Um, so I forgot to mention this earlier when we opened up the show and I called you the Hernandez to my homicide. Would it have been any better or worse if I had called you the Hernandez to my Johnny Swinger? You don't get that reference, do
Oh,
you?
yeah. I had to think about it for a second. Yeah.
Yes,
Or
it was
what's his name now? Johnny Parisi.
that was his name like 20 years ago when he was in WWE for 5 minutes.
Well, no, he on the last Maple Leaf Pro weekend, he said he was going to go back to being Johnny Parisi.
Well, I didn't watch Maple Leaf Pro, so that doesn't count.
Well, I'm telling you now. Now you know. You don't even have to watch it. I kind of like those
Well,
shows. I don't know why.
I haven't bothered to watch them, to be honest. There's
Oh,
too
they're an
much
interesting.
wrestling already.
There is, but I don't know. That's just an interesting mix of talent, and that's something that I like to check out. And I
I
want to
mean,
see who's gonna become the Canadian heavyweight champion because that's a very
I was
fucking old school thing. I love it.
gonna say, Trey, not everybody is you, and watches 200 hours of wrestling a week.
Oh, I wish I only watched like s- I don't know 8 or 10 hours of wrestling this week. I was
I,
very
I, I
busy.
love that. I love that I'm making fun of you while simultaneously watching as much classic wrestling as humanly possible. Um, but yeah, I'll tell you what, I loved Johnny Swinger in TNA, all the when he was doing Swinger's Palace and Swinger's Dungeon, and we had Hernandez there when Swinger, I forget whose wad of cash they stole. They stole somebody's wad of cash, and that's how they opened up Swinger's Palace, and it just became a tremendous, tremendous series of skits. And I think that was Jimmy Jacobs, because I think he was in charge. Well, in charge, he's the one that came up with a lot of the wacky comedy skits that were actually funny. And didn't he go to AEW?
I think he did for a time. I think he's maybe. No, I don't think he's there anymore. He's not there anymore. Yeah, he left last year. He was
God
there for
damn
a
it, Jimmy
while.
Jacobs.
That
Well,
guy
well,
just can't stay in one
well,
place.
yeah, well, I'm pissed off at Jimmy Jacobs for leaving everywhere, apparently. Let's go to the intro of the show. It's Jim Ross and his guest this week, Harry Taylor with neck brace. Go to that now.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Mid-South Wrestling. I'm Jim Ross, and I'll be your host for another exciting hour of Mid-South Wrestling action. And today on Mid-South Wrestling, you're going to see another outstanding hour of excitement, including a tag team title match for the Mid-South Tag Team Championship. The Rock and Roll Express will go against Jim Cornette's Midnight Express for the Mid-South Tag Team titles. You'll also see a great match between Stagger Lee. He's here, and he will be going against Mr. Wrestling, who, as we all know, is the North American champion. Some other great matches, Hacksaw Butch Reed and Nature Boy Buddy Landell are on hand, Masayo Ito, and Mr. Wrestling 2, Mr. Wrestling's new protege. Here with me at Mike's side, and my partner for this hour of wrestling, Terry Taylor. Terry, I tell you, it's really a thrill for me to be here with you, because after what happened last week, and I hope the fans were with us last week to see what I have to say was one of the most gallant efforts I've ever seen in all my time in professional wrestling. And I want to congratulate you on the effort that you put out. And I'm just sorry, and I'm supposed to be unbiased. I'm sorry that you lost that championship match and the $10,000.
Well, thank you very much. The money was secondary. I just thought that this TV title was so important to me because it's supposed to be for the people. And I feel like I let the people down because I didn't win. The guy that has that title now, Crusher Khrushchev, to me, it isn't right that he would have it, because a guy like that doesn't represent what I think wrestling should be.
Well, Terry, it really upset me to see that beautiful red, white, and blue that draped that medal around the Russian sympathizer's neck. And I'll say this: the people were here for you, and you just did a superb job. A lesser man would not even have gotten in the ring.
Well, thank you very much. I just did what I thought was right. The fans have been behind me ever since I've been here. I want to thank them, each and every one, right now, because without the fans, I don't think they give me an inspiration to hear them yell for me, to tell me to keep going. It keeps me going in times when I really think that I'm going to be down and out, and somehow it just gives me a little extra boost, and I come out on top most of the time. Just this time I came up a little bit short.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, ladies and gentlemen. If you weren't here with us last week, and hopefully you were, Terry Taylor was receiving some flowers just prior to this match from many of the fans. I know people are giving you roses all over the area, and I know you appreciate that. A nice young lady gave Terry Taylor some roses. Hacksaw Butch Reed came on the scene, and well, let's see exactly what happened in that match.
This was such a babyface promo there by Terry Taylor. It's like, man, I really want to win for the people, and this was a championship for the people, but now Khrushchev, who doesn't represent the people, he's the champion, and that's just awful.
What a
And
guy that Terry Taylor.
what a nice young gentleman. He's a very good looking man, even with the neck brace. He's like Tracy Smothers in Smoky Mountain. He's someone you could take home to meet your grandmother, and he won't offend her at all.
You might say he was tailor-made to be a babyface.
Aha.
Eh.
But he also has that like when he is a heel, he's got like that great smug cockiness about him, where it's like, okay,
He is
he's a fantastic, heel too.
kind of a chicken, though.
Very true. I mean, he's got a great personality for to be the middle of the card, and there's nothing wrong with that because somebody has to be in the middle of the card. And Terry Taylor, like we're going to see him in higher spots on this in Mid South, but he doesn't have the personality on at least a national stage to be more than the middle of the card. Like he deserved more than the fucking Red Rooster, let's be honest there. But, you know, he was not going to be Mr. Perfect. He was not going to be in the
He
main
sure
event with
wasn't.
Hogan. You
He sure
know,
wasn't going to be Mr. Perfect.
it doesn't matter what the fuck you hear. You could swear up and down. Oh, it was between Kurt Hennig and Terry Taylor to be Mr. Perfect. If Terry
Look,
Taylor would have been
look,
Mr. Perfect, it would have failed. And
look.
you know
The
something?
reason,
Mhm.
the reason that Kurt Hennig was Mr. Perfect was that only Kurt Hennig could have been Mr. Perfect.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like there's always that, you know, little it between Hogan and Vince that, Vince could have gotten anybody to be Hulk Hogan. Well, only Hulk Hogan could have been Hulk Hogan. And like you couldn't have had Randy Savage come in and he's now Hulk Hogan. It wouldn't have
Uh,
worked. And I'm not saying, oh, Randy Savage's new name is Hulk Hogan and he would have pointed and, did the three punches, the boot and the leg drop, but Randy Savage couldn't have been booked like Hulk Hogan, and Hulk Hogan couldn't have been
no.
booked like Randy Savage. In the
No,
same
entirely
way,
different workers.
yeah, in the same way, Kurt Hennig and Terry Taylor couldn't have been booked as each other.
Right.
Um, but today we're going to have the Midnight Express versus the Rock and Roll Express for the tag titles to pay off that non-title win the Rock and Rolls had 2 weeks ago. We're going to have a great match between Stagger Lee and the North American champion, Mr. Wrestling. It's such a great match that I can't wait to share where on the card this great match was. Um, and Mr. Wrestling's protege, Mr. Wrestling 2, who, in case you didn't join us, what was it, last week or the week before, this is not the Mr. Wrestling 2 we've been talking about for years. This is Hercules
Oh,
under a mask. And
yeah.
to be honest,
Hernandez's dad.
there you go.
Yeah.
Another
Sean Hernandez's dad, Hercules Hernandez.
see we're bringing this show full circle. And I'll tell you what, if they were to actually try to say that, obviously it's way too late to do that because Hernandez isn't on national
Yeah.
TV anymore. But it's like, honestly, they probably could have gotten away with that to some extent anyway.
If
Like Hernandez,
anybody had the fucking traps to be the son of Hercules, it was Sean Hernandez.
yeah, he was one strong motherfucker and, built
Yes.
really well, like you said. And, I know it was mostly X Division guys he was throwing, but that fucking border toss, that's a fucking impressive move.
Dude,
Like, you
that
know,
ruled.
there, obviously there are moves that the other guy helps give it to him. There was no thing in that border toss that the guy receiving the move was helping Hernandez give the move.
I love,
Uh,
love, love that LAX versus AJ and Daniels feud.
Before that, on the pay-per-view before that, I think it was Sanjay and Jay Lethal that took on LAX. And it was LAX's first real match because that was after they'd done like Homicide and Machete and I think Homicide and
Yeah.
Apollo 1 month. And it was like, but then they did the work stoppage gimmick for a few months, and then
Yeah.
this was their first match. For some reason, I don't think it was Jay Lethal, but I can't think of who the hell Sanjay would have teamed with at the time. But whoever it was, 'cause I remember Hernandez throwing Sanjay in that border toss, and I'm like, holy fuck. Like, that was the move of the year right there.
I have an answer.
Um,
You will not guess who Sanjay's partner was.
so I know it wasn't Saban because Saban was in the feud with Kevin Nash. Um, But Sanjay was one half of the team, right?
Sanjay, it was Sanjay and somebody.
Was it R-Truth?
It was R-Truth.
Okay. I was just like trying to think of the most random people because like I know like Lethal, Sanjay, and Sabin were like an unofficial three-man stable, but Sabin was
Yeah,
in a tag match with Nash, and it would have made sense for Lethal to be his partner. And
yeah.
so it's like I couldn't think of who the hell else would have been teaming with Sanjay.
You did. You guessed
Uh,
the most random.
because that was also at the time like that. I don't think that no, that wasn't Truth's last match, but that was around the time where Truth was having a lot of issues with TNA because once they broke up Three Live Crew, the New Age Outlaws got their push, LAX got their push, and R-Truth was in the middle doing nothing.
I think everything worked out pretty well for Mr. Killings overall.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I think especially at the time, because like and obviously they kissed and made up at some point, but R-Truth and John Cena did not like each other. And didn't Truth put out a rap against Cena at one point?
Really, I don't even remember this. I guess his childhood hero. Damn.
Yeah. Oh my God. So I guess it was on SmackDown because I didn't watch any of Raw, but Cena was walking backstage and R-Truth came up to him because Cena's his childhood hero. And I forget what it was. Cena's just staring at him like, "You motherfucker, you have 5 seconds to get away from me." And you know, I don't think it's going to be R-Truth in Judgment Day level, but when Cena finally decks him, that's going to be tremendous.
They should have Cena kill R-Truth. They really should.
They really should. By the way, we've now gone 30 minutes, and all we've gotten is 3 minutes into Mid-South.
Oh, midnight rock and
Maybe,
roll.
maybe we should have done the whatchamacallit last week, the Friday night spot show when it was just, but we could have just talked about random ass
Oh,
wrestling news.
yeah.
Um, we see a replay of last week when Terry Taylor got his flowers, and then he got his ass kicked by Butch Reed, which just shows that even in 2025, you shouldn't give people their flowers.
Aw.
No
I
comment?
think it's nice when
Okay.
people get their. I think it's nice when people get their flowers, just not
Well,
ripped up
I
and pile driven.
is is Butch Reed still alive?
I don't believe he's with us anymore. I think he passed away several years ago.
Oh yeah, he passed away in 2021. Okay. All right. So yeah, so this is why you can give people flowers these days because Butch Reed isn't alive anymore to come out and pile drive you on the floor.
Aw.
We could imagine if Butch Reed was still alive, we could have hired him to go around and, pile drive people when they get given their flowers.
Oh, that'd be
Um,
phenomenal.
okay, let's go back to the desk where Terry Taylor is going to talk some more.
Well, there we've seen it again, and with the help of some friends, namely Hacksaw Butch Reed, Crusher Khrushchev is the Mid-South Television Tournament champion. Terry, you put up a tremendous fight, and I'm just very, very proud to be sitting here with you, especially after what happened last week.
Well, thank you, Jim. I tell you, this is a great sport, professional wrestling. It's the toughest sport in the world. And an injury is going to be a part of it, but not like this. These two guys owe me 10,000.
Don't worry, Bookworm. We're not going to bother you. We don't mess with invalids, okay? Let me tell you something. We got a title match scheduled right here, and we want to postpone it, baby, because I'm going to tell you something. There's something fishy going on around here. James E. Cornette's not around here anywhere, and we don't have title matches without our manager, James E. Cornette. Do you understand that?
Hey, Robert, suspect a little foul play going on.
Yeah, well, foul play or not. Gentlemen, let me make you understand one point. Now, I want you to listen to me very clearly. You're the tag team champions. You signed the title match. The title match is going to go on, whether you like it or not, or whether your manager's here or not, makes no difference. Ladies and gentlemen, the Mid-South Tag Team Championship match will go on. It'll go on next, and we'll have that championship match after this word from the Mid-South Wrestling.
All right. So after Jim Ross congratulates Terry Taylor on losing the television tournament for a medal and $10,000, in case you have no idea what they sound like, that was in fact Dennis Condrey and Bobby Eaton walking in. Um,
Mhm.
it's kind of funny because like how often have they ever really cut promos?
I don't
Um,
think either of them has said anything on these shows yet.
no, that may literally be the first time they've ever spoken. I don't just mean on the show, I mean ever. Like, when the hell is Dennis Condrey and Bob Eaton ever had to speak? Especially when
I
Bob
don't.
Eaton was teaming with his all-time best partner. You know who I'm thinking of. George
Daddy said
Gulas.
sail. We're
Um,
having a picnic.
we're getting sandwiches. We're having a picnic. Daddy said sail. Daddy said sail. Poor Bob Eaton. Bob Eaton's been part of how many great tag teams? And every time I ever bring up one of his former partners, I got to mention George Gulas.
Oh, I bet Cornette used to do that in the car all the time too.
Oh Lord. And this is definitely the podcast for people with OCD. Um, oh Lord.
Why?
We should find a way to rename this podcast to include OCD in there. Anyway,
Uh,
Corny is missing. I guess Bill Watts finally got pissed off at him for ripping up that tape of the Superdome match. And
Probably slapped his head off.
yeah. And so JR points out that this match is going to happen whether or not Jim Cornette is here. So we go to the match, and it's the tag team champions Midnight Express versus the Rock and Roll Express. And the weirdest thing is listening to Reeser introduce the Midnight Express.
I
Like,
know. It was so weird. Oh, it was
so,
disconcerting. I didn't like it.
so no, I did not do a timestamp for Reeser's introduction, although maybe I should have. But yeah. I noticed that Bob Eaton's title belt was missing a side plate. And,
Oh, I didn't
you
notice
know,
that. Did you notice Dennis's fresh gig mark?
I did not. See,
Yeah,
I
big
noticed the
old bandage
contrite
on his
stuff that no
forehead.
one cares about. Yeah.
Yeah.
So unbelievably, and once again, Trey, I hope you're sitting down for this. They got the heat on Ricky Morton.
Really?
Um, yeah, I know. It continues to shock me. Even when I saw the Rock and Roll Express wrestle over WrestleMania weekend, they got the heat on Ricky Morton again. I was gobsmacked by that.
Fucking
Anyway,
FTR got the heat on Ricky Morton the other night.
and Robert Gibson too. Um,
Ah,
but
poor Hoot.
uh, this was, I mean, calling it a hell of a match is a step too far, but this was a damn good TV match. A
Yes.
four-way breaks out. Morton had the match won, but the referee was distracted, and an old lady hit the ring and attacked Morton with a purse for the disqualification. And it turned out the old lady was Jim Cornette. And
Jim Cornette and
I,
drag.
yeah, I gotta say though, like, and this is a very Memphis angle. And in Jerry Lawler's book, he actually talked about one time that he did it. I think it was to Jerry Jarrett, um, that he did it to him at one point. But either way, it's a very Memphis angle to have the old lady in the crowd attack somebody. And I'll be honest, I didn't care for this particular angle just because I'm not saying they should have concentrated on the old lady sitting in the crowd because that would have made things too fucking obvious. But give us a crowd shot at some point so we can see that there's an old lady in the crowd. So like some eagle-eyed viewer could go back and say, "Hey, there's the old lady that was sitting in the crowd. That's Jim Cornette." But it's like this was
Yeah.
like what out of the blue, an old lady hits the ring and it's Jim Cornette in a dress.
It
And the
did
funny thing is,
feel
go.
random. And I don't know. And I see what you mean with the shooting it is a valid point. I thought like they should have established a personal issue between the Midnight and the Rock and Roll first.
Definitely. I mean, they've really only had that one match a couple weeks ago. And other than the fact that one's a babyface team and one's a heel team, there really hasn't been any other, there was no reason for this match other than that.
Yeah.
you
It's
know.
funny. My first thought was, wait, I thought they didn't wrestle again until after the Midnight and Watts angle was over, and then I thought, well, I guess the Midnight and Watts angle is over.
Yes. Now here's the thing too. Isn't this show taped the same day as last week's show was?
I am not sure. My
I, I
book is still packed up.
I'm pretty sure it was. And so Cornette was on last week's show, not in a dress. And so I'm actually curious like, what are the logistics of it? Like, he could not have gone to the dressing room and then come out in a dress 10 minutes later because everyone would have fucking known. And so, like, did he like sneak outside or something and, change in the car and then sneak back in?
Well, you're the expert on logistics of putting on a dress. I wouldn't know anything about that.
To be fair, I've never
To be
walked
fair,
outside. I've never walked outside in a suit and gotten in a car and got undressed and put on a dress.
hmm, yet. Never say never.
I'm pretty confident at this point that that's probably not going to happen. Pretty confident.
Okay. Okay.
Anyway, so let's go to JR and Terry Taylor, who are going to talk about The Rock of all things.
Ladies and gentlemen, as
Oh
we
yeah.
prepare for our next match, it's scheduled to be Steve Brinson against Mr. Wrestling 2. Referee Pee Wee Anderson brought me Jim Cornette's wig. This was what was in the purse. A rock.
Can you believe it?
A large rock. Ricky Morton was struck in the head with this rock that came from Cornette's purse. He finally came out of the closet. Indeed, the rock was in the purse. There's not a whole lot more we can say, but right now, let's go to the ring and Reeser Bowden.
By the way, the name of this week's episode is The Rock Was in the Purse.
Well, that's a fantastic title.
I will do anything I can to trick people into listening to this show.
I probably would have done stupid like, that's my purse.
That's my purse. I don't know
I don't
you.
know you.
Oh Lord, I said that to somebody a few weeks ago and they had no idea what the hell I was talking about.
That
I
makes me
was
sad.
it really made me sad too. Like even if you never watched King of the Hill, that's one thing everybody knows is that's my purse.
I I like during the pandemic when like nobody was paying attention to what Kevin Kelly was saying on the New Japan English feed. He started like anytime somebody would do a ball shot, he would go, "That's my purse."
Please tell me it popped whomever he was doing announcing with.
Oh, it was Chris sometimes. I think it was Gino a couple of times. It was I don't know, like I don't know who would either of those guys even get the reference? One is British and one is Australian.
Probably would have made it funnier.
Well, maybe, yeah.
So then we go to Mr. Wrestling 2.0 with Mr. Wrestling versus Steve Brinson. Two tried to win with the torture rack, but he couldn't hold him up, so he won with a suplex. And Trey, I hope you're sitting down for this. This was not as good as the Midnight Express versus the Rock and Roll Express.
The funniest part was JR goes, he's got awesome strength, right as New 2 completely fails to get Brinson up for the torture rack.
Honestly, I blame Brinson for that. Although maybe it's
It
time
made
for
me maybe
Hercules
you're
to get
right.
to get a new finish because was it who he wrestled last week? Was it Poffo? Whoever he took on last week wouldn't submit to it, mostly because TA missed his cue to hit the ring, and this week Brinson did not submit
Joe
either.
Savoldi. It was poor Joe Savoldi
So
last
well,
week.
Joe, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to besmirch Lenny Poffo like that.
Lenny Poffo would have
And
done it better.
indeed he would have. By the way, well, saying we have 5 more months of Steve Brinson is pushing it. We have like 5 more matches of Steve Brinson that take 5 months to happen.
I just
So,
realized I wrote Steven Brinson. I think it was just a slip of the finger. Did-
well,
I know. Steven Brinson is funnier for some reason.
it sounds better, you know.
Yeah.
But speaking of people named Steven, Dave Meltzer at the time's favorite USFL player is coming back soon.
Who's
Did you
that?
ever read the '84 Observer Yearbook?
I don't think, not that I remember.
Dave was not a fan of Dr. Death Steve Williams at the time,
Oh.
and he flat out says that he hopes he makes the Denver team in the USFL so he can avoid coming back to pro wrestling.
Oh.
Actually,
The Rock
looking at
ends
the
up being pretty
results,
great.
he does. Actually, looking at the results, he's already back. He's doing house shows. He's actually this week he defeated Buddy Landell and Butch Reed on a few shows, and he'll be back on TV in a couple of weeks. Spoiler alert.
That'll be fun.
Definitely. And well, I'll save that for when we get to it. But we get to Jim Duggan next versus the winner of the television tournament for a medal and $10,000, Crusher Khrushchev. I wonder how long I'll be able to say that during every one of Crusher Khrushchev's matches.
No, it was
Um,
just for the medal, not the $10,000, right?
well, correct. This match was just for the medal, but Crusher Khrushchev will always be the winner of the television tournament for a medal and $10,000.
So now, do they get to keep the money, or does the Kremlin get a cut? Is Khrushchev even
I don't.
giving the Kremlin a cut? He is
Oh,
just a
I'd imagine
sympathizer.
I imagine he
Oh,
probably gave like 90% of it to the Kremlin.
well,
You
from
know,
each
he
according to his ability, to each according to his need.
yeah, he probably gave them 90%. He took 60%, and Nikolai got the last 40. So he got like $600 of that $10,000. And ultimately, we find out the problem with that is that even though he gave $9,000 to the Kremlin, he needed to pay taxes on the whole $10,000. And so, unfortunately, I think Crusher Khrushchev is gonna go to like a Happy Corbin type angle soon, where like he
Oh, that would
loses
have
all of
been.
his money.
Oh, oh.
But
Now I'm imagining Baron Corbin as a shaved-headed Russian, and that's very funny for me for some reason.
by the way, I wish they would have done this angle, and this could have been a great idea to bring back Mike Rotundo for a one-off. But when Baron Corbin won won the money in Las Vegas when he was down to his last couple dollars, what if he didn't pay his taxes on that? And months later, now he's broke again because, hey, he forgot to pay his taxes on his gambling winnings, and you have IRS show up to basically repossess his happiness.
IRS is like an all-time hilarious. Like Vince was just pissed off at the IRS that day.
Definitely. I think it also helped, and I'm not saying that he wasn't pissed off to the IRS, but it helped that that was right after Mike Rotundo did the Michael Wallstreet character in WCW. That got an
Yeah,
absurd amount of press for WCW. Like it's like they were like, oh man, this computerized gimmick, and it's the gimmick of the '90s and all this shit. It's like, no, it's Mike Rotundo doing a stupid gimmick, but hey, he did it really well, and you know,
I
hey,
mean,
it got him a job with WWE for 4 years.
I don't know. For some reason, maybe it just seems to me that Michael Wall Street, the IRS, is kind of like a natural character progression.
Yeah, it really is, even though, at the end of the day, like Vince was mad at the Internal Revenue Service that week.
Yeah.
By the way, Duggan did not wait for his introduction. Speaking of people who are
No.
not IRS or Mike Rotundo, or Baron Corbin, Duggan did not wait for his introduction. He hit a spear, and instead of trying to go for the win and trying to win the television tournament medal or the television medal, he punched Khrushchev some more until Nikolai Volkov ran in with a coal miner's glove to attack Duggan for the DQ. And I'm going to play the audio here of the finish of the match. Let's go to that right now. Nikolai Volkov has hit the ring to attack Duggan, and we're going to play it from here.
Oh, yeah, this is good. I gotta go. Wait a minute, Terry. Terry Taylor. Terry Taylor's going to the ring. They have the coal miner's glove. And there's Hacksaw Butch Reed. Hacksaw Butch Reed is taking that brace off of Terry Taylor. Taylor's got the injured neck already. Taylor goes to the post. And Khrushchev, ladies and gentlemen, Khrushchev has got some clippers. He's shaving the beard. He is shaving the beard of Hacksaw Jim Duggan. We've got Ito and Landell and Hacksaw Butch Reed. They're putting up a line of defense. Nobody's been able to get to the ring. Hacksaw Jim Duggan is out from the coal miner's glove of Nikolai Volkov. The referee goes out. It's pandemonium in our television studio. They're shaving his beard. Utter humiliation for Hacksaw Jim Duggan. We all know that he advocates freedom of speech and lifestyle. His beard means so much. They are shaving the beard. They're shaving the beard. Everybody's standing. Here comes Magnum TA with that board. Magnum TA's got a board. We've got bodies laying everywhere. Terry Taylor's tied to the ring post. Hacksaw Jim Duggan has had his beard shaved by the Russians. Utter pandemonium. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, in sheer humiliation, has had his beard shaved by the Russians. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to try to restore some sort of order.
Okay. So a little different, but yeah, Duggan gets his beard shaved. And
Yeah, this is the first time that we've heard JR do like a heavy angle like this as the lead announcer.
I was thinking about that too. I was trying to remember, is this the first time we've seen JR become the JR that we all know and love? The
I think
very
so.
emotional JR,
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
you know? Yeah. And so yeah, and it's funny because like while they were shaving his beard, I thought about last year when I think Duggan was still a heel at the time, but they were doing some weird ass angle, and I think this was right before you came in, that Duggan didn't bathe, he didn't take showers or wash his hair or beard to fuck with, the people he was wrestling. And it's like, wow, this they're paying off that angle somehow a year later, that now these wrestlers who are dealing with this guy who doesn't wash his hair or wash his beard are coming out to shave it for him.
That's long-term storytelling, isn't it?
There you go. Now Terry Taylor hit the ring, and now as we mentioned earlier, Terry Taylor is the color commentator, and JR did not mention this, so it may not be a thing anymore because they didn't mention it all during the show, but that's always been a suspension and I think a $1,500 fine. Or maybe it was $2,500 because remember, was it Junkyard Dog who hit the ring a few months ago? And part of the reason he wanted to be in the television tournament for a medal and $10,000 was so he could hit the ring some more and pay it off.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah.
So I guess now, Crusher Khrushchev could get up from color commentary to interfere several times.
4 times.
4 times, yeah.
Yeah. And so Duggan, I imagine he's going to come out next week clean shaven, but he wasn't quite, clean shaven. Like he still had some scruff on his face. And then after they'd already done the job, Magnum TA and Robert Gibson ran in for the save, which was nice of Magnum TA and Robert Gibson to wait.
Nah.
Do you remember the story and I don't know how true this is. 'Cause I mean, Jim Duggan, I can't imagine, wouldn't be a bit of a storyteller. But when he was in Team Canada in WCW, he cut his hair and shaved his face, and people backstage didn't recognize him.
I can believe it. He didn't look like Jim Duggan at all.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like, and it's funny because like if it was, I mean, Jim Duggan in 2000 meant nothing, but at the end of the day, it's like it was like perfect. I thought Jim Duggan in Team Canada,
That was
the
such a
ultimate
fucking Russo
USA baby.
thing. The
It
ultimate
was
Russo. Yeah.
it was the ultimate Vince Russo thing, but like especially like at that point, what the hell are we gonna do with Jim Duggan? It's
You
like I'm
know,
sure
that's
like
fair.
it's like at that point it's like I'm sure like he like Russo among the 8 million things he had under pressure, it's like he was like they pointed out to him, hey, we have all these people getting paid and you need to find a way to use them. And it's like, okay, bro, I'll figure out a way to use Jim Duggan, bro. And that was
I
after
am.
they also did that. It was a bit of a heavy angle when Goldberg turned heel. They had him beat the
Yeah.
fuck out of Jim Duggan
Yeah,
because that
like
was after,
punching him in the kidneys after he had the
yeah,
yeah.
after he had cancer, and you know.
Yeah,
So it's like,
yeah.
hey, occasionally Russo came up with a good idea. Just the problem was it was sandwiched in with 8,000 other angles every week, so it didn't stand out.
Yeah. See that was why Vince working under Vince worked because
Yeah,
McMahon would listen to all the wacky shit and then take out that one germ of a good idea and make something out of it.
exactly. And, hey, there's one thing you can say. You can never say Vince Russo did not come up with enough ideas, but
Hey, you can look,
he,
you can say a lot about that man. You cannot say he was not creative.
exactly, you know. We then get Butch Reed. By the way, we're going to hell if it really exists because we've now defended Vince Russo on this show. Um,
Uh
yeah, I feel dirty. So let's talk about Butch Reed and Buddy Landel versus John King and Lanny Poffo. I guess George Weingroff had the week off. And Reed pinned King with a diving shoulder tackle.
Uh, so it was supposed to be the brother's penis here, but right before the match, George Weingroff got an erection and passed out. So John King had to sub in.
I thought you were going to say George Weingroff stood up and tripped over his own penis and, hit his head off the ground. It's like,
You
was,
you remember when Lanny was getting pushed in this territory for just a minute?
yes, it was happening
I
around the
bet.
same time that, what's his name, who played a little football, was
Yeah,
getting
Tom
pushed.
Lentz. Oh,
Yes.
I bet if we looked back through it, we could pinpoint the week that they figured out that Randy wasn't coming.
Yes. It was probably week 3.
Yeah.
And I will still hold up that interview with Magnum, Mr. Wrestling 2, and Lanny Poffo was one of the best things we saw in 1983.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was drafted into the family. I did not enlist. And yeah, my Lanny Poffo impression needs a lot of work.
I mean, it's not bad.
When I met Lanny a few years ago, I was like waiting in line. There was one person ahead of me, and I was waiting in line, and I had my Macho Man Randy Savage impression ready to go. And of course, the fucking guy in front of me did it already. And Lanny gave the line of all the Randy Savage impressions I've heard, yours was the most recent. I'm like, I can't do mine now. He's
Oh.
already.
Oh.
I should have walked. I should have turned around, walked the other way, gone around, come back like 20 minutes later. The problem was, I guarantee everybody except me who met Lanny Poffo did a Randy Savage impression, just because I felt bad that he just heard one. Uh,
Oh, Lanny.
Masayo Ito versus Joe Savoldi. Ito won with a splash. After the match, Ito beat up Savoldi some more. He should have been disqualified for kicking too much ass, but it doesn't appear the decision got reversed.
Why are we doing this? Why are we trying to pretend that Masao Ito is a threat again?
Well, he was a bigger threat when he wasn't winning every week. His first 3 weeks where he was getting disqualified every week, he was a bigger threat than he was later on when he started winning matches.
Yeah, yeah.
Funny how that works.
Now,
Uh,
now, should we move on to our fourth standby match?
I wrote it as the fifth standby match.
Was it? I thought they said
Uh,
four. One, two.
well, everything after the Midnight Express, Rock and Roll Express was a standby match. So Mr. Wrestling 1, Jim Duggan 2, Butch Reed 3, Masayo Ito 4, Mr. Wrestling versus Stagger Lee 5.
I'm not gonna argue this.
Oh, I want to argue, but all right, we'll argue about something else. So Stagger Lee did not wait for Reeser to finish his introductions. Thankfully, Reeser does not get paid per introduction because he would be missing some money this week. You know,
Yeah, poor guy.
he is not drunk Mark Lawrence who insists on doing his introductions no matter what.
He's gonna earn
Um,
his money. He needs his booze money.
So, as we mentioned, this is the fifth standby match, which means that if this is real, this match, which was a really good match, as announced by Jim Ross earlier in the show, this match was less important than Masayo Ito versus Joe Savoldi. It was less important than Butch Reed and Buddy Landel versus John King and Leonard Poffo. You know, this match
Okay,
was the least. This was the least important match on the show. The battle between the
okay.
North American champion and someone standing up for his good friend, the Junkyard Dog.
All right. This point does not matter at all, and it's completely irrelevant to the point you're making. But in the interest of
Right.
being pedantic, I think that JR said specifically that this was the fourth standby match. And I think that the reason for that is there were two scheduled matches. The Midnight Express,
Mm-hmm.
the Rock and Roll Express, and Crusher Khrushchev and Jim Duggan. And
See,
then the Midnight
I
and
think they're
Rock
going
and
to
Roll
mention.
match.
Mm-hmm.
No, the Midnight and Rock and Roll match only went 6 minutes. So then they put on the first
Only.
standby match.
I think
Well, in
that's the long
theory, it's a
on the
championship
show.
match. It could have gone an hour. That's why they put
Yes.
it on first.
Well, that was a great theory, except the time they put Terry Taylor versus Butch Reed, like with like 5 minutes left to go in the show in the TV
Look,
tournament.
you know how much shit I've done since we watched that? That may not, that, you may be making that up. That may not even be a thing that happened. I'm just taking your
You know,
word
at
that,
this
you know
point,
what?
oh, I almost feel like we need to go back and rewatch our own show or re-listen to our own shows just to see how long ago some of this stuff was. Oh, this is what happens
uh,
when you record like when you bulk record like this. And I think
yeah.
before I had co-hosts, I used to like record like a month of shows in advance, which always came back to bite me in the ass because it was like when CM Punk got fired was like the day after I recorded a month of shows. And so I had to like record like a new intro for one of the shows.
That's funny.
Anyway, so Stagger Lee knocks Mr. Wrestling into Mr. Referee, and two runs down for immoral support. They tried to get the mask off, so TA ran in for the save. And despite not seeing what was going on, our biased Joel Armstrong still disqualified Mr. Wrestling, which is bullshit. When Joel Armstrong woke up, the only two people in the ring were Stagger Lee and Magnum TA. That is all he saw. So in theory, he should have disqualified Stagger Lee.
Well, here's the thing. He may have. All we have was JR's word that Stagger Lee won by DQ. We got no further clarification. We got no bell. We got no announcement. Who knows?
Well, I point there. Um, So Stagger Lee basically telling JR that they want a match with the Mr. Wrestlings. Now I know you speak Junkyard Dog, but do you speak Stagger Lee?
Very similar dialects. Yeah.
Okay. But did I
He
basically
said,
translate it correctly?
yeah, they want to fight the Mr. Wrestling twos.
Yes. So that's how the show ended. And it was not the greatest show we've ever seen, but it was certainly a solid 40 some odd minutes.
It felt like stuff happened on this show.
Yes. We advanced several storylines.
Yeah.
But by the way, we have some breaking news, kind of. Um,
Oh.
the Arena Mexico taping for AEW is sold out.
Oh yeah, I saw that earlier. Good for them.
Yep.
It's
Thumbs up.
awesome. It's gonna be really, really cool. Like Arena Mexico just looks so cool and distinct. Now, if we can get my dream of dreams is a dynamite or a collision at Corkin Hall.
Hey, they did Bound for Glory at Korakuen Hall the one year,
They
which
sure
hey,
did.
the show wasn't, great or anything, but I definitely liked how different it was.
Yeah.
Um, by the way, you may start watching Raw soon since Julia has been called up to Raw apparently.
Oh, has she? What?
Yeah. Uh,
Well,
her and Roxanne Perez are apparently officially on Raw now.
okay. I'm
And
surprised it took them this long to call Roxanne up.
I only I'm not that surprised just because wasn't she champion for like most of the last 2 years? Basically ever since they
Yeah.
fired Mandy Rose for being hot.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Um, by the way, apparently, uh, there is a ticket. Well, I knowing WWE, there's probably like 20 of the same tickets, but there is a ticket for to be front row center on the TV side for both nights of SummerSlam for $40,000.
I want to know. I
And
want to know who buys that ticket.
they are sold out apparently.
Of course they
I'm not
are.
gonna I'm not gonna brag about how much money I make, but I make a little bit more than that per year. Um, that is like 90% of my annual salary. I would not spend $40,000 on SummerSlam tickets unless like it was me and like 100 friends all going, and we were like splitting the cost, and the total was $40,000.
Yeah. By the way, I'm fucking irritated.
About anything
If
in
I-
particular?
Yes, something very particular. So the other day, I go to I go to get a ticket for the Ring of Honor show on All In Weekend.
Oh,
Originally, they had said that tickets were going to be on sale. All right, I didn't
uh-huh.
make this wasn't a fever dream that I had.
I'll
And
take your word for it.
then
I don't.
And then I think it was later the same day or the next day, maybe, that they announced that the Supercard of Honor pay-per-view that they had booked for May 2nd was canceled. That the
Hmm.
show in Arlington that was going to be Death Before Dishonor the night before All In is going to be Supercard of Honor. And that Death
Hmm.
Before Dishonor will happen over Labor Day weekend in Philadelphia.
Hmm.
Anywho, what they did not announce in any of that, and what I found out, much to my sorrow, was that for the Supercard of Honor, you can only get tickets if you pay for the $1,000 or $1,500 VIP tiers for All In.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. So,
Wow.
uh, indie promoters running in Dallas that weekend. I need something to do Friday night. That's not GCW,
Wow.
but I
Wow.
got my tickets to Dynamite and Collision, so that'll be fun at least.
You know what? That that reminds me of something that really pissed me off over WrestleMania weekend. And hey, we got some time because this world class show is not going to take us an hour to talk about. Um, so I mentioned this, the last few weeks. I got the WWE Priority Pass for both nights of WrestleMania. And
Mhm.
hey, I'll just be open about it since I just said $40,000 was front row to SummerSlam. It was $750 both nights. And you saw my tickets. They could have been a lot worse, but I'm saying they could have been a lot better, but I thought they were decent seats. I was facing the ring the whole night. It's all
Yeah.
good. So there's a few perks that come along with it. And one of them is that on the day of the show, you get a VIP entrance, a dedicated entrance just for the people that purchased the priority pass. And last year at WrestleMania in Philly, I didn't formally have the priority pass, but I had a similar gimmick where it had a special entrance, and I walked right in. Had no issues at all. Walked right in, walked right into my seat. It was perfect. And I was expecting something similar this year, especially since like I said, formally purchased the priority pass with the dedicated VIP line. Well, Saturday, that motherfucking VIP line. I got to the stadium. The show started at 4 o'clock local time. I got to the stadium about 2:15 to give or take, and eventually I realized, and I did not know when I got into line where I was, but I was halfway around the fucking stadium. And
Jeez.
yeah, I got in, like I said, I got in line at 2:15. I got into the stadium at 3:30. And I was texting you and I was posting this on social media. I had doubts that I was going to get into the stadium on time because they had one entrance for everybody that bought these tickets. And they must have sold, if I had to guesstimate, between 7,500 and 10,000 tickets for the VIP line for one entrance. And again, and I had an argument with some dickhead on Facebook about this that same day. If you bought the regular non-VIP tickets, you walked right in. There were no issues at the main gates. And they had plenty of gates open for you to go in without an issue. It was this fucking priority pass where we were lined up halfway around the stadium. And by the way, I was not the last person in line. Like by the time I got in, there was probably, I don't know if 1,000, but probably close to 1,000 people behind me. So keep that in fucking mind. Now, I emailed and called the W Priority Pass people, and to sum up what they said was basically too bad, so sad. And to make it even more annoying, the next day, Sunday, there were zero problems. They did not have this issue. Like, it wasn't quite just walk in, but it was pretty goddamn close to just get off the bus and walk into the damn stadium. So it was showing that they knew how to do it fucking right. They just didn't do it right the first night. And what made me think about this is if you had whatever the top tiers were, I forget what, I think it was like platinum or whatever, they had a second dedicated line specifically for them, and they walked in no problem. And what that told me was that my money, I spent a lot of fucking money, but to me, they felt that that wasn't good enough. That, $750, by the way, is about 110 times the national minimum wage, which is still 7.25 an hour. Just throwing that out there. Um, like literally, the average person could not afford tickets to WrestleMania. Legitimately.
Oh, yeah. People taking out loans and shit, apparently. I saw that. Some of that
I,
being
I
discussed.
believe it. I believe it. You know, I was fucking close to dipping into my 401k. That's And I mean, that's pretty fucking insane if you think about it. And also, and I'm going to stop complaining about WWE for a second and start complaining about people. We're at fucking WrestleMania. And I know if I paid $750 for my ticket, everybody in my row spent the same fucking thing. Sit the
Mhm.
fuck down during the fucking show. We had hours before the fucking show started to buy merchandise, to buy food, to buy drinks, to buy all this shit at all fucking night, especially on Sunday. Saturday wasn't bad. Sunday, people would not sit the fuck down and watch the show. It was nonstop, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And I'm the nicest person in the world. I'm like, it's no problem, yada yada yada. But no, it was a fucking problem. Like, motherfuckers, sit down. Like, it was pissing me the fuck off. And for whatever reason, it was causing my back to flare up, which pissed me off even more. And yeah, that
Fuck your goddamn sign too.
what was that?
But fuck your goddamn sign too.
I didn't have that problem. There's nobody near me with a sign.
Still fucking angry at one woman in particular in front of me at WrestleMania fucking Dallas 32.
Did she even have a creative sign?
I don't know. I only saw the back of it.
No. At WrestleMania 28, I was behind some little kid who had a John Cena sign, and I was convinced they were going to put that kid on TV. So I helped him hold up the sign, and they did not put that kid up on TV.
I'm gonna take a bold stance here. If you're over the age of 12 and you take a sign to a wrestling show, you're an asshole, and I don't like you.
There's like one thing during the Attitude Era when there was like 10,000 people with 50,000 signs. That's not what it is
Yeah.
now. It's 10,000 people with five signs, you know?
Did not pay to look at your stupid fucking sign.
Hmm. And of course, I guess we don't see this that often anymore, especially, but like the always hilarious, the guy behind me can't see sign. I was
I'm
behind
sorry.
that one time.
That's ironic.
Yes, yes. Anyway, world class, held at the Super Pit at North Texas State University. Let's go to the only piece of audio I have on the entire episode, which seems to be a regular occurring thing here with World Class lately. The intro
Hmm.
with Bill Mercer, who was outside, introduced the show.
This is North Texas State University in Denton, Texas, and this is World Class Championship Wrestling. In this tremendous event on the North Texas State campus, we've got Jimmy Garvin, the gorgeous one, against his old nemesis, Chris Adams. That's our main event. In addition, you'll see the Missing Link and Rock and Roll Zumhofe and many other stars. Our first match features a Super D of Devastation Incorporated coming up next on World Class Championship Wrestling.
Yeah, you heard him right. Rock and Roll Buck Zumhofe is on this fucking show.
I was surprised at that. I was surprised that he's working here and not in Mid South with his kindred
Grizzly.
spirit, Grizzly Smith.
Yes. I wrote. I'm not sure you wrote something too, but it's like, I mentioned that Zumhofe and Grizzly Adams are said to form a team, and I saw Grizzly Adams, not Grizzly Smith. Fuck Zumhofe and Grizzly Adams would have been a hell of a team too.
Hey, what if
Yep.
the guy from Bear Country that didn't get fired?
Was it Bear Boulder? We should not have this much problems figuring out which one was which.
Yeah, that guy could be Grizzly Adams.
You know, Grizzly Adams had a beer. Um,
Yeah.
so it's either Bear Bronson or uh the other one.
Bear Boulder.
Bear Boulder. I think it's Bear Boulder. Yeah, following Bear Boulder's release, Jameson and Bronson would go their separate ways as Bronson would return to singles competition, while Jack Jameson would form the frat house with Cole Carter, Griff Garrison, and Preston Vance. Is
Yeah.
Wikipedia on drugs?
No, no, I swear that is a thing that exists. I've seen it with my own eyes.
That can't be true.
I promise. I saw them at one of the shows a couple of
Okay, whatever.
months.
That might be the most random stable of all time, and I'm including when MJF had all of
The
Stokely
Pinnacle.
Hathaway's guys at that
Oh,
time,
the
and
Firm. Was the
yes,
Firm more random than the Pinnacle?
yes, just because at least the Pinnacle was there to take on the inner circle, so you needed five guys who kind of matched up with the inner circle five guys. You know, that was
I missed the
honestly.
conglomeration. The conglomeration was a fucking TEW generated stable if I've ever seen one.
Yes, that's the one when you click on the next day on TEW 2020 and it says a stable has been formed in a company that
Yeah.
isn't yours. And it's
Yes.
like
Yes.
the most random people in the world are now in that stable.
Yes.
Um,
Exactly.
so honestly, and I can't say obviously I can't say I was done with AEW or that I gave up on AEW, but that was the feud I was most disappointed in was that Inner Circle Pinnacle feud, just because like FTR hadn't done anything in months after they lost the tag titles, and like Wardlow was starting to come into his own, and Shawn Spears was always a good talent, and it's like okay, this is something that could have lasted months because like these five guys and those five guys, they all matched up pretty well with each other. And it's like, man, this could take you through the summer and then some. But it's like they had to do war games right away for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And then 3 weeks after that was Stadium Stampede. And they had to do that. And that was I think, well, that wasn't the end of the feud because Jericho and MJF feuded for the rest of the summer. But like, they missed. I don't want to say dropped the ball. I'll say fine. They dropped the ball because that could have been a really good feud. They could have had a lot of great matches with those two teams of five against each other for 3 or 4
Yeah,
months.
I believe that some of those guys didn't like being a part of what was essentially an MJF vehicle. I think there was
I mean, that
some unhappiness there.
that's fine. And like Mike Santana, he killed it with Mustafa Ali on the TNA pay-per-view yesterday as we're taping this. But it's
Yeah.
like I get him and Ortiz had their issues and he wanted to break out on his own. But especially at that point, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're in an MJF vehicle right now. Shut up and just, I don't say shut up and take your money, but shut up and enjoy the ride, you know?
I think that was their issue, is that Ortiz wanted to shut up and take the money, and Santana wanted to express his discontent.
And hey, sometimes it works to bet on yourself. And we'll see if Mike Santana really, if it pays off for him. And right now he's doing pretty good in TNA. I don't want to say he's doing great, but he's doing pretty good right now in TNA. But, you know, we'll see, I guess. You know, I think right
Yeah.
now, like they're trying to move him into the Josh Alexander spot as that guy who's going to have great matches on every show, and he's not Josh Alexander yet. He may never be Josh Alexander, and if he is, good for him. I hope he fucking kills it. I hope he does fill that spot. But yeah, like he's not Josh Alexander right now.
Meanwhile, I am enjoying the new team of Josh Alexander and Konosuke Takeshita.
Uh, th- you know, eh, I'm wanting to stop watching AEW and just stop giving me reasons to start rewatching it. I'm, I want to sit here and be angry that they did Athena versus Mercedes Mone in the semifinals of the Owen Hart tournament. And again, that's not a disrespect on Jamie Hayter, because I bet Mercedes Mone and Jamie Hayter have one hell of a match at Double or Nothing. But I think that it's ridiculous that Athena, who's been fucking champion and undefeated for like 3 years, it feels like, the best she could get was the semifinal spot.
I have a hypothesis. I have no
That they
evidence to
that
support this.
that they did it just to
What?
like do it so you can kind of ignore it so they can come back and do that match later.
No. Okay, and this is I have no evidence to support this. This was just the way that I was thinking going up to it and then what ended up happening. I
Hmm.
think, and again, this is just me talking out of my ass. I think that the plan was to do Mercedes and Athena in the main event at Supercard of Honor. And then they canceled Supercard of Honor and they had the tournament mapped out, so they had to do it on TV.
Okay. That that is entirely possible, to be honest with you. And
Yeah.
hell, I mean, I wouldn't have gone to the show, but I certainly would have fucking watched it if that was, if that would have been on the card. It's like when they did FTR versus the Briscoes. I had no desire to watch the rest of that show. It was a fun show, but I had no desire to really watch it except for that FTR Briscoes match. Um, but by the way, you want to talk about some world class? I mean, we're like an hour and a half into the show here.
I
Um,
suppose. I
we we
suppose.
We really should start doing a semi-regular current news show just to like get our current thoughts out of the way.
Uh,
Um,
yeah.
but we go to our first
Maybe
match, which is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
maybe that can be the spot show sometimes, just that.
There you go. We get Super Done with General Skandor Akbar versus Leonard Poffo, who is doing double duty this week. And now we mentioned this, it's at the Super Pit at North Texas State University. And you want to know something weird? And I think this is just like getting older and whatnot. When I was a kid, I hated when they would do the ECW show in arenas other than the ECW arena, just because I loved them being in the ECW arena all the time. And but like now, like when we're sitting here watching Mid South, which every week it's at the Irish O'Neill Boys Club, and we're watching World Class, and every week they're at the Sportatorium. I really like these random ass shows sometimes that are not at, the Sportatorium in this case. And I really like the look here. It was a nice sized arena, and it was pretty fucking full. And I think next week's
Yeah.
show is also here at the pit.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I've always liked stuff to look different. So
yeah.
this was neat.
Um, Bill Mercer informs us that Andre the Giant is coming. I don't know how Bill Mercer found out that information. That seems really fucking personal, if you ask me.
Well, he's a master reporter.
Yeah. Um, the America's title has apparently changed hands,
What I've
and
heard.
yeah, and despite the fact that we're going to watch Chris Adams versus Jim Garvin this week, we're going to see what happened in the title change next week,
What the
which
fuck
just
was that?
seems it
It's
just seems
so
really
weird.
odd.
They love to do that. They love to it's almost like a bait and switch. We're gonna show you
They
next
couldn't have
week.
just they couldn't have just aired the title change this week and then had the rematch next week,
Well, no,
especially with the
that'd make too
fucking
much
finish.
sense.
Yeah. So Super Dunn won with the superplex. Unfortunately, Leonard Poffo went 0 for 2 this week. And I'm disappointed that you did not pop any of the times I've said Leonard Poffo.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Um, so do you think that Mark Lawrence hit up a frat party before the taping here to get a little announcing buzz going?
No, I guarantee it. And in fact, if you were to tell me that like he had like a beer hat on like between matches, I'd totally believe you.
Oh my God! Look, if Mark Lawrence is still with us, Tony Khan, if you're listening to the show, and why wouldn't you be? All in weekend in Dallas, we need a cameo of drunk Mark Lawrence drinking with the frat party.
I would have said drinking with Mark Briscoe.
Oh, that'd be even better. Okay, yeah. Okay, this match, I gotta say, this match was better than the typical opening match on the show. I think that's just because Lanny Poffo was more interesting to watch than Johnny Mantel or Kelly Kiniski.
Wait,
Like even, it,
wait. Time out, time out, time out, time out. I gotta write that down. Lanny Poffo is better than Kelly Kiniski and Johnny Mantel.
right. And like even like the Super D is surprised by Lanny's skill. He said, "Where'd they find this guy? Where's this guy from?" He was impressed. They
Yeah,
had this was a good little match.
it was, and I hope Lannert is here more frequently. And
Yeah,
he'll
yeah.
never get a push because Lanny Poffo, spoiler alert, is never, ever, ever going to get a push.
They
I
need some
think Lanny
workers
is
on this
one.
show bad though.
If you think about it, like Lanny Poffo has a career record of like 1 win and 6,000 losses, and that 1 win is against fucking Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, isn't that beautiful? I love that.
So as Hogan loses to nobody, but loses to Lanny Poffo, the man who never wins. And oh Lord, he
Beautiful.
never did. Did he get his win back? I mean, I'm sure they did a bunch of tag matches and whatnot. I know they did one at Saturday Night's main event with Hogan and Warrior versus Poffo and Mr. Perfect. So Poffo probably took the leg drop then. Oh
Yeah, I don't
Lord.
know. Oh,
Anyway,
maybe.
during this match, we find out that at the Inhale, David Von Erich Memorial Parade of Champions, in addition to the world title match, we're going to have Kabuki versus Kamala and the mixed tag match with Sunshine and Chris Adams versus Precious and Jim Garvin. So I guess
Oh,
we haven't discussed this, and I guess we'll have to look to see how many episodes of World Class covers the David Von Erich Memorial Parade of Champions. But I was originally thinking we should do it as a Friday night spot show, but and then like use the Tuesday show to catch up on World Class or not World Class, but Mid South up to date. But that might be difficult to pull off. I guess depending on how many episodes it is. Although Lord knows we could probably talk about Mid South for 2 hours, but I mean we'll
if
figure
you
things out.
will give me just 1 second, I may have a helpful
But
answer as
while
I
you do,
scroll here through my media library and speak kind of slowly to. Okay, so what I have here for the first Von Erich Memorial Parade of Champions, which is usually what these are like a supercut of what aired on TV, and what I've got for that show is an hour and 24 minutes. So,
okay. I thought I saw like a 2 hour version on YouTube, but I mean, either way, we'll figure shit out. And by the way, while Trey was speaking really slowly and I was trying to cut him off because I figured I could talk about the next match while he was looking that up, but
oh,
Buddy Roberts versus Rock and Roll Buck Zumhofe, because according to the WCCW graphics, Zumhofe is 2 words. Um, Zumhofe
yeah,
won with the Vader bomb. The only
he did.
positive about this is the match went 30 seconds, which means we didn't have to watch Rock and Roll Buck Zumhofe long.
Uh, Waste of Buddy Roberts.
Yep. We then get the very unusual Max with General Skandor Akbar versus Jerry Gray, or as he's known in England, Jerry Gray. Max hit himself in the head with the board to start the match. There you go. I popped you on the same joke I used like a month ago, the last time Jerry Gray was on this show.
By the way,
Um,
according to Mark Lawrence, the very unusual missing link.
do you not listen to a word I say? I said that before I said Jerry Gray. I said the very unusual Max with General Skandor Akbar.
Do you think that when we're podcasting together, I don't have anything better to do than listen to you talk?
Probably not.
I'm
Max
sorry.
hit him. I,
I have ADHD and sometimes I space out.
this is the podcast for that. Max hit himself in the head with a board to start the match. Trey's going to tell you in like 5 minutes that Max hit himself in the head with a board to start the match. Shouldn't Gray have been disqualified here when Max got hit with a foreign object?
Well, I mean, you'd think so.
Anyway, since Jerry Gray didn't get disqualified, Jerry Gray got pinned after a diving headbutt.
Oh, did you mention that Max hit himself with a board to start the match?
I didn't. Thank you for mentioning that. Do you think Gray should have been disqualified for hitting him for Max being hit with a foreign object like that?
I think that Max should have been disqualified for being in the match and hitting a legal participant in the match with a foreign object.
Maybe it should have been a double disqualification. Max did use a
Jerry
foreign
Gray.
object.
Jerry Gray should have won by disqualification when Max hit himself in the head with a board to start the match.
See, we're arguing the same argument, but two sides of the same argument. Who should have been disqualified? Because Max got
Yes.
hit with the foreign object, but Max hit the person with the foreign object. Maybe
Why don't we
General
just call it a no contest?
maybe General Skandar Akbar should have been thrown out of ringside for that.
Maybe David Manning. David Manning should have his referee license revoked anyway.
I mean, speaking of people getting thrown out of ringside, we go to like the 45-minute main event here. The longest match I think we've ever seen on World Class Wrestling. It's Jimmy Garvin with Precious versus Chris Adams with Sunshine. Man, oh man, Maddie, they gave these guys some time here. Um, we didn't get the Goldberg entrance per se, but like I called it the Goldberg entrance
Almost.
because we started with Garvin from his locker room walking all the way out. Um, and Precious and Sunshine fight before the match, and everyone holds them apart. And so David Manning, Von Erich kicked them out of ringside. Um,
We
and
needed we needed Joey Styles here to yell, "Cat fight!"
yes, we did. Um, so
By the
Adams
way,
gets on a. I'm sorry, go ahead.
uh, I wrote that Garvin has regained the American title through nefarious memes instead of means. And now I want to know what kind of nefarious memes Jimmy Garvin might have used to win the American title.
I mean, is Jimmy Garvin still a pilot? Maybe he was flying my flight from Dallas to Boston.
I bet he was.
You know, because the flight they mentioned that plane was turning around and going back to Dallas. And by the way, fuck Frontier Airlines right in the ass, and not in the and not with a lubed cock either. Like
Could
and
have been worse. Could have been Spirit.
honestly, I don't know if Spirit would nickel and dime me more than Frontier did, because
They're about the
uh,
same.
that fucking pissed me off.
Yeah.
So Adams slaps on a side headlock, and in like the greatest spot I've ever seen, and I don't know how no one else has ever thought of this. Adams has a side headlock on, and so Garvin pulls his own hair and yells at Bronco Lubick that they should break the hold due to hair pulling.
Amazing. This was a really good match.
It was at least till the finish. At one point, a weird noise suddenly played in the background, and based
Oh,
on
it
the
was the
fact that
tape.
yeah, I was gonna say based on the fact
Yeah.
that nobody seemed to acknowledge it, I think it was a WWE tape issue.
Yeah.
Um, Mercer claimed that Garvin was fisting Adams in the head. That's
Beg
not where the
pardon?
fisting normally occurs.
Huh.
Um, Precious ran down, probably because she had an issue with the fisting. So Sunshine came down. They got in the ring, and someone won while Precious and Sunshine rolled around on top of each other. And we eventually find out that while Precious and Sunshine were rolling on top of each other, Chris Adams won.
I mean, I knew that. Like, I saw Adam's cradle carving.
But there was like 98% of the screen was Sunshine and Precious doing their thing.
Yeah.
And in
The
the
finish, the finish was wonky, but I don't know.
the
It
fin
didn't ruin
the
the
fi-
match or anything, but it was a little
the
wonky.
match the match was not important. And I wanted to complain about them doing a mixed tag match at the Texas Stadium show, but at this point, I don't want to say nobody gives a fuck about Jimmy Garvin versus Chris Adams. At this point, they've been fucking wrestling for 9 months. You know, like legitimately, this fucking angle has been going on since the end of August last year.
Chris needs to do something else.
This needs to turn heel soon. Um,
Yeah.
by the way, you know what bothered me a lot more than the finish of this match?
What's that?
The tag was sticking out of the back of Sunshine's dress.
Oh
I
dear,
hate
I didn't notice that.
that's like one of my weird pet peeves. If I see somebody walking with a tag sticking out of their t-shirt, I will want to go up and put it in.
I understand.
Um,
I understand the
mm.
impulse.
By the way, next week it's Kevin and Mike versus Michael and Terry
All
here
right.
at the Super Pit.
Super Pit.
Yes.
I feel like there's a joke
Ah.
there.
Hmm? Where are you going to make it?
That's what they called your mom, the Super Pit. I don't
Wow.
know.
Wow. How rude of you. By the
Oh,
way,
I'm sorry.
Collision is airing on TV Saturday. Not that you care
Yes,
because you just watch it on what
Triller.
you watch it on. Yeah. Trailer. Trailer. Um
Silly.
so hey well we got a few minutes here. So at I think it was the DDT show I went to. There was a Michael Jackson impersonator called Santana Jackson. And hey, of all the people you've ever seen doing a Michael Jackson impression, he wasn't too bad at it. But what made me laugh was his entrance theme was Smooth Criminal, but it wasn't Michael Jackson's. It was Alien Ant
Oh,
Farm's cover of it.
that's phenomenal.
My guess, and people might, I guarantee I was the only person who noticed this. I guarantee I was the only person who noticed this. My theory is that even though it was a streaming show or streaming pay-per-view or whatever, they still would have had to pay a lot more money for Michael Jackson's version of it.
Well, it was on, well, maybe it's different on Triller. Wrestle Universe didn't give a shit, but I don't know if it was on Wrestle Universe.
Hmm.
I was gonna say something.
I
I don't know. I don't-
See, if it was on New Japan World,
Michael.
we would have gotten the music rights. Who was it
You
that
know what
like?
was funny? One,
I think it was
one
Hiroki
time,
Goto, whose like theme I didn't hear for years because it was constantly the music rights have been altered due to copyright.
probably Togi Makabe.
Maybe. I always loved that Jericho's theme would be copyrighted and when it's like his fucking song.
One time about 6 months ago, I was playing around with the feeds and just happened to note it. Or no, I was watching the English feed, and it was for some like Dick Togo never gets the pin, but it was one of those things where they did a bunch of House of Torture fuckery and Dick Togo pinned somebody. So they
Wow.
played what was, the song that he's used for entrance music for years, which is "Insane in the Membrane" by Cypress Hill. And on the English feed, they were just playing it openly, and then I switched to the Japanese feed, and it was the dub theme. So they dubbed it on the Japanese feed, but not the English feed.
Interesting. I used to like when they started doing English commentary, and I forget if Kevin Kelly was there pretty much from the start. I mean, they did like the Wrestle Kingdom with Jim Ross and Matt Striker, but like JR wasn't there permanently afterwards. But
All right.
when they did it with when like Kevin Kelly started doing the English shows, they didn't tell him ever when they were going to dub it over because like Kevin Kelly would be cut off mid-sentence. And I remember tweeting like, "Someone tell Kevin Kelly, can we please tell him when these songs are being dubbed over so he can at least
Hmm.
stop talking because he's been dubbed
Okay,
over."
they don't do that anymore. They don't like completely dub over the announcing. They're able to just sub out the music.
That's good, at least.
Yeah.
Hmm. By the way, I, okay, have you watched the I guess now famous Minoru Suzuki Butterbean match?
Have not yet. That is on I still have a lot of stuff on my Mania weekend to watch list that I have not been able to watch yet.
Sorry, not sorry. That was not the worst match of all time. That's like no,
Oh,
like no, it was not a good match at all. But I mean that 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 was fucking tremendous. It's like as like anybody, like I'm sorry, Dave, I love you. Sorry, Brian, I love you. But trying to claim that was worse than the Bushwhackers versus the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov, get the hell out of here. You know,
yeah. I don't know. I want to see it. I want to see it.
I I mean I'm almost like I don't say I'm interested in seeing what your thoughts are, but like I'm interested in seeing if you side with them maybe. Because that's possible. You may see it and be like, you know what? Dave and Brian are right. This is the worst match of all time. But I don't know. I liked it, but like I wasn't expecting it to be anything more than it was, you know? And I guess that's the
Yeah.
argument for any bad match of all time. Like who the hell went into Charmel versus Jenna Maraska expecting like a great match? But like I sorry, not sorry. I really, enjoyed the fucking match, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's cool.
Yeah.
I'll get to it and let you know what I think.
6 weeks from now on this show.
6 weeks from
Oh,
now, I'm gonna go just randomly. Hey, Max hit himself in the head with a board to start that match 6 weeks ago.
I, I'm going to maybe I should write this down so it could be like the new logo for the Mid South show. But I guess you did actually notice it, so whatever.
I did. I did eventually. I
Yeah.
ruined the gimmick.
It helped that I kept harassing you about it for weeks. So I mean, I think we all
Yeah.
I think honestly, like at this point, we probably should have kept it going. You're like, oh no, I didn't see it. Tell me about it again, and see how mad I
Yeah.
could get with you not noticing.
Oh, Arya, do you really think that I would make you upset intentionally?
I do. I do. I think you'd come on here and talk about how, the Great Khali sucked, and I'd be like, them's fighting words, and then we'd never do the podcast ever again.
Uh,
Because apparently, I draw the line at saying that the Great Khali sucks.
Oh, yeah, it was funny. I saw like a little cartoon on Twitter the other day, and it was asking like the joke was like, "What video game is this?" But we could probably do like a lot of what wrestler is this or what match is this. It was a little guy going, "I love the way this sucks," and that's how I feel about the Great Khali.
I always said that about the Great Khali. It's like I liked that he was different than everybody else. And like at a time when everybody's gimmick was pro wrestler, he was freaky, gigantic, Indian guy. It's like
Did you ever see The Longest Yard, the one with Adam Sandler and all the wrestlers in
Oh,
it?
oh yeah, loved it.
Yeah. So Kali Dalip Singh is in that movie, and it's like probably my favorite line because he's like a criminal and a psychopath, and after like Adam Sandler's character, they think he like abandoned them, and then he comes back and Kali's character, and it has the subtitle everything he says because it's the Great
Mm-hmm.
Kali, and he goes,
Yeah.
"I'm glad you are back. Now I don't have to stab you."
Greatest thing the Great Khali apparently has ever said. Um,
Oh no, the greatest thing the Great Kali ever said was, "I am Stooge."
I'm a. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm Stooge. See, I thought you were gonna say I was abandoned at the Red Robin.
Click, click, the black of the high. Was that? You remember that one?
Oh,
Oh God!
I always
I
loved the I was
miss.
abandoned at the I was abandoned at the Red Robin promo just because like he's talking all normally. Like that's was my favorite part of it. He's just like talking like you and I are talking like this. And then when he realized no one could understand him, he got pissed off and more pissed off and screaming that I was abandoned at the Red Robin. And you know,
Oh, but was it yum?
yeah, I'm sure it was. And I'm going to the Red Robin this weekend with a boyfriend and my friend Lauren and her husband, and we're
Oh,
gonna have fun.
oh, boyfriend is
Yeah.
meeting friends. Oh,
Boyfriend is meeting best friend, so I
oh,
mean,
wow.
I,
All right.
I okay,
That's
just I, I mean, I know we did like that bulk of fucking shows around my first date, but it's like, I don't know how much we've talked about it. I'm really fucking happy. He makes me
um.
happy, and fingers crossed. I'm not gonna come on here in 2 weeks talking about what an asshole he is. Um, but yeah, it's like uh, him and I we're really clicking, and hopefully we continue to.
I am happy for you. Happy to see you happy.
I am. Oh, I think we've kind of acknowledged this already without actually saying it, but I'm not going to y'all in. It's like I
Yeah, I get it.
yeah, it's like I'm just not it's not even just the political climate. It's like I'm so out with AEW right now. I don't care if Osprey's going to win the title that night. I don't care if like every negative thing I hate about AEW gets fixed in one night. It's like I just I can't, you know.
Hey, sometimes you can't. I will be at Y'all In. I will also be at Dynamite and Collision that week, and hopefully I'll find something to do on Friday
Go to
since
Starcast.
I won't be at fucking Ring of Honor.
Starcast is that weekend. I'm sure they'll do something.
I'm
But
sure.
anyway, now that we're closing in on the 2 hour mark, so I guess it's time to call it a day,
All right,
you know? But
call
yeah,
it.
so how's I'm afraid to ask this because like I don't know the last time you even did a podcast before today, but how's the Oh My God cast going?
So the last episode would have been 2 weeks ago, which means there should have been a show this week. There is not going to
However,
be. I am sorry, but I hope to start getting back on track maybe next week. We'll see. I am
yay.
still like, look, my wife and I are gonna be fucking weeks unpacking this house.
Oh, so this should be fun. Can't wait for the Smoky Mountain show Thursday. See,
Hey,
hey, it's a best
I
of
have.
show. If there's one time we're gonna breeze through a Smoky Mountain show, it's this Thursday.
Well, hey, look, I
As
have my
we
desk now, which means I have my computer set up and I have my screens and I have my media servers. So, and I have my podcast set up. I have the most important things.
and hey, this Thursday, in addition to being now we're more than halfway through Smoky Mountain. we're going to find out who won the WrestleMania prediction game between Trey and I.
Awesome. I have no
And
idea, legitimately.
it was really close. It
Okay.
was really close. I'll actually tell you, it comes down to a tiebreaker.
Hmm.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah. Well, so we'll see what that means. Um, to see if Trey and I are either both excellent prognosticators or both really, really, really suck. We'll see.
Or some of
But
both.
possibly. Well, until Thursday, thank you all for listening. I hope you all enjoyed the show, and we'll talk to you again in 7 days.
Bye.